Good evening, Junior Legionaries. I hope you all are having a great first Friday. And speaking of the first Friday, which is dedicated to the Sacred Heart of Jesus, we are getting closer to the Sacred Heart of Jesus through our consecration to Jesus through Mary. We just this review. Remember, we first learned that Mary is our mother, which makes us her children, and everyone else our brothers and sisters. So we learned that in the first week. The second week, we looked at virtues and things that our Blessed Mother wanted to teach us. So we remember that she was teaching us, yes, we need to be able to put ourselves in the presence of God. We need to be able to learn how to say yes to God. And then also, we remember that Mary was telling us that everything that she does leads us to Jesus. And so for this week, we're going to look at virtues and Mary in Scripture. So we're going to look at the virtue of meekness, as well as look at the visitation, as well as Mary at the foot of the cross. So these are going to be in your books, days 12, 19, and 25. Okay, so first, we look at the virtue of meekness, which is day 12. Meekness is a special virtue, and it's an important one for all of us to grow with the heart of Jesus and Mary. So it looks like this in your books here. Okay, so meekness is the virtue that helps us from going from two extremes. Because if you're going from one side to another, you're like, oh, and you get dizzy and everything like that, right? Well, meekness keeps us in the center so that we're not going, oh, all the time. One extreme in meekness, which meekness kind of counters, is that we let people just walk all over us and we don't stand up for ourselves and for our dignity. That's one extreme that we don't want to go to. Then the second extreme is this, where you're so concerned with not letting people walk all over you or use you that you stay angry. And so your anger controls you, not you control your anger. Meekness says, nope, that also is degrading because we're meant to be in control of our emotions and our situations. And we should never be so angry that situations and other people can control us. That is a slavery that none of us are meant to be under. And so meekness imitates our Blessed Mother and Jesus, because Jesus tells us, I am meek and humble of heart. Meekness tells us we are not doormats, we don't let people walk over us, but also we're not just angry people who are controlled by our emotions. Meekness says, I control my emotions, not I let my emotions control me. This helps us to grow in patience and in love. And so, questions that we should ask ourselves with meekness is, what are some things that upset us? Then, how can we respond to them with meekness and love? Not letting them control us, the thing that upsets us control us, but how can we take steps to control it? Then, last question with this is, how can we let things go so that they don't control us? What are some practical steps in doing that so that we can stay at peace, a peace which the Lord always offers us? So that's the virtue of meekness. Now, this brings us to our scripture verses. So we turn to day 19 and we look at the visitation. The visitation is where Mary set out in haste to visit her cousin Elizabeth. Now, she teaches us a couple of things in this. First, we must always look for ways to help others. This is having vision instead of just sight. Sight says, okay, I see something needs to be done. But vision says, I see something needs to be done. How can I help? Mary teaches us that because she went out immediately to help her cousin Elizabeth when she knew that she needed help. Secondly, we see that Mary teaches us to do it with joy. When she was able to go and see her cousin Elizabeth, they hugged each other, they embraced each other. And we have to look for ways to do that as well. So, have vision instead of sight, but then also to have that vision with joy. This is what the visitation teaches us. And then finally, we come to day 25, which is Mary sitting at the foot of the cross. In this, so that's this page in our books, we see that Mary is given to us as a mother by Jesus from the cross. A great gift as he was dying, one of the most important gifts that he gives us, Mary as mother. But he also says for us to look after his mother, represented by St. John. He says, take her into your home, if you read in scripture in John 19. So how do we make Mary part of our home, of our souls? Every day we should make Mary part of our home. This means maybe saying an extra 3 Hail Marys before you go to bed. This means maybe instead of looking at things and saying, hey, this isn't my thing, be like Mary and say, how can I help? This will make Mary very happy. And then also, finally, do it with Mary's heart, which was always with love and joy. So like when you come to the Legion meetings, or you come to school, or you get home, do it with joy so people know that you are exuding love. And this is how you can ask yourself, am I doing things with Mary's heart? When you come into the room, I'll use myself as an example. Do people say, oh, great, it's Deacon Anthony? Or do they say, oh, great, it's Deacon Anthony? When you're doing it in the first way, because joy is contagious, then you're doing it with Mary's heart. When you're doing it in a non-Marian way, then you want to say, Mary, help me to love like you. And so in conclusion, this week, let us remember these 3 important lessons from Mary. First, meekness, that we are meant to control our emotions and our lives, not let our lives and our emotions control us, especially the emotion of anger, which is the virtue of meekness. Secondly, in the visitation, we should have vision, not just sight. We should see things that need to be done and then have the courage to do it. That's vision. Okay? Then lastly, make a little place for Mary in the homes of our souls each and every day. God bless you. I'm so proud of all of you for doing this consecration, and know that you are in my prayers.